Hi, my name is Tony Santo and I'm a large format photographer. This video is all about panoramas and using the 6x17 roll film holder for your view camera to get those images. The term panorama can be defined as a wide-angle view or representation of a physical space. The aspect ratio that's usually associated with this format is that of 2:1. That is, the image is twice as wide as it is high. However, this isn't the only aspect ratio that's considered panoramic. Scholars believe that the term panorama wasn't coined until the 18th century when an Irish painter by the name of Joseph Barker utilized the term to describe his paintings of the city of Edinburgh. In the photographic world, we don't see a patent on a panoramic camera until 1843 when an Austrian by the name of Joseph Puchberger applies for a patent on a panoramic camera that took images up to 24 inches wide and utilized the daguerreotype technique. Arguably, some of the most famous panoramic images that people are aware of were taken during the American Civil War during the 1860s. A Union Army soldier by the name of George N. Bernard was commissioned by the Army to take images of battle scenes and the destruction of the war, as well as strategic locations that generals would utilize to plan their attacks. In 1888, we see the invention of flexible film, which is important because that allowed for many significant improvements to happen to the panoramic camera. And in fact, by 1898, we see the first mass-produced, widely available panoramic camera, the Ala Vista, take the population by storm. It's a very, very popular camera. Today, this format, the panorama format, is still very popular with photographers. Whether you shoot film or digital, people love this format. And it probably has something to do with the fact that the panoramic format is very, very close to the way that our eyes see.
The human eye has a field of view of approximately 120 to 130 degrees of binocular vision in the horizontal plane and approximately 60 degrees up and 70 to 75 degrees down of monocular vision in the vertical plane. As the distance between the eye and an object increases, the field of view, colors, and differentiation of objects is maximized for a much richer view.
Towards the end of the spring of 2013, friends of ours, Craig and Christina, came out to visit, and my friend Craig had brought along his Holga panoramic camera that he affixed a large format lens to. He got some great results from the camera, and it really inspired me to think about this format a little bit more. So in the fall of 2013, I started shopping around for a panoramic camera. However, when I found out how much these cameras were going for used, I was absolutely floored. We're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars, and that was just outside of my budget. Not to mention, it's an extra piece of equipment now that if I want to shoot 4x5 and the panoramic format, I've got to carry around more equipment. So as I was shopping, I just happened to stumble across an option that I thought was really great. So I found a deal on eBay for this DaYi roll film holder and ground glass combination for less than $1,000. I bought mine used and it was in excellent condition when I purchased it. But there is another manufacturer out there that you should be aware of. Shen also makes a roll film holder that will attach to your 4x5 view camera. The reason why I picked this one was it was a good deal, and I just went for it. So I don't know of the build quality of the Shen or anything, but all I can tell you is that this particular model is great. I mean, it's built very, very solidly. In fact, it's kind of heavy, but it's a nice piece of equipment. I know that it's not going to break if I accidentally drop it. So the way that this thing works is that you take your ground glass first and you attach it to your view camera via the international back, or what's also known as the Graph-Lock back. Be sure to check out my other video on the Graph-Lock back where I talk about this modification that I made to my Zone 6 camera. But you basically just attach the ground glass to the back of the camera, focus, do all the movements that you want for your particular image, and when you're ready to take the picture, all you're going to do is remove that ground glass again and attach the roll film holder. So this roll film holder has a dark slide, which is kind of a nice feature, and so when you're ready to take your picture, you just slide it out. Now, one tip that I learned the hard way that I want to share with you is that I would recommend putting a line on your dark slide where the image is cleared, but your dark slide still stays in the roll film holder. And the reason for this is that if you pull the dark slide all the way out, getting it back into the roll film holder is actually kind of difficult. If you're not in a hurry, it's really not a big deal, but if you're trying to pop off several images of the scene very quickly, getting this back in can sometimes be a pretty big challenge. So the easiest way around this is just to draw a line on the dark slide and only pull out on the dark slide until you see that dark line. So one of the other things that's kind of neat about this particular roll film holder is that you can shoot 3 different aspect ratios. So I shoot the 6x17, that's what I prefer, but there are 2 other formats. You have the 6x14 centimeter format and the 6x12 centimeter format. And what you end up doing is you use these little blackouts and you attach them inside of the roll film holder to basically crop down the image to either the 6x14 or the 6x12 centimeter size that you're looking for. Now, the nice thing about using these is that you'll actually, with the 6x14 centimeter size, you get 5 images as opposed to 4 if you go 6x17, and you'll get 6 images out of the 6x12 centimeter aspect ratio. So that's kind of the advantage that you get from using these. However, if I want those aspect ratios, I just prefer to shoot the 6x17 and then crop down later once I've scanned the image. But overall, I'm really pleased with this particular roll film holder. I've shot hundreds of rolls through it and never looked back. Now, the other nice thing about this is that unlike a full-fledged panoramic camera, you're really only looking at 2 pieces to carry around with you, and it fits very, very nicely in my backpack along with my 4x5 view camera and all my lenses. So all my gear fits in one bag, and I'm not carrying around huge bulking cameras. So that's kind of a nice advantage to shooting this. But if this is something that you're interested in, I'd recommend checking out the roll film holders for this format that attach to the 4x5 view camera. You should be aware that there are dedicated panoramic view cameras that use roll film holders that look like this, so you want to be careful when you're shopping around that you don't get one of those film holders, because it actually won't work with that with this system. The ground glass in those systems is attached to the view camera, which is separate from the actual roll film holder. So you want to make sure that you get one that's dedicated for the international back or the Graflock back. And one of the ways to tell that is by the thickness of the roll film holder back. So overall, I would definitely recommend, if this is a format that you're interested in, I would check this DaYi roll film holder out or the Shen roll film holder out for the 4x5 view camera. So what about lenses? What lenses do I use with this roll film holder? Well, I basically use 3 lenses. I use my 90mm lens, which is a nice option if you really want that wide-angle view. With the 6x17 format, it's actually very, very wide, and in most instances I'm not using this lens simply because I find it to be a little bit wider for my taste, but you may not find that. Now, one of the drawbacks of using the 90mm lens with the roll film holder is that the image circle actually becomes a problem out at the lateral edges of the roll film holder back. And these wide-angle lenses are notorious for having a brighter center image versus the lateral fringes. So that manifests when you're using this roll film holder, and it's something that you should be aware of. Now, if the scene is relatively well lit, you won't really notice it. However, where I have found that you see this is in those really long exposures. There's one scene that I remember taking of Badwater Basin with this beautifully colored sky just before sunrise, and when I got the roll film developed, I ended up looking at the edges, and the edges were significantly darker than the middle piece of the film. And so that's something that you should be aware of, that if you're going to shoot the 90mm lens, that you may, because of the limitations of your lens, end up with some vignetting around the lateral edges of the format. So it's not my favorite lens to use with the panoramic format. Chances are, when I'm out in the field, I'm reaching for my 150mm lens. In my personal opinion, I have found that using the 150 in conjunction with this format is perfect. It gets me a nice wide angle of view, and I don't get any vignetting. I don't have to worry about the image circle at all. So it's really my go-to lens when it comes to the panoramic format. Now, one of the other lenses that I've used with this roll film holder is the 210mm lens. And this lens is very nice on the panoramic back as well. However, it does crop off a little bit of the image on either side, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. So if you need to bring an object a little bit closer to you, this actually is a pretty good option. You just have to realize that it's going to crop off some of the image, and it's going to look like a smaller format, like the 6x14 size. So lenses are something that you do want to consider with this format. I don't think there's any right or wrong answer, but however, you need a starting point, and hopefully this might help someone in trying to figure out, where do I start with a lens for my panoramic back. So again, I think that the 150mm, maybe even 180mm lens is a perfect focal length for this format. To load the film, you're going to want to remove the back panel of the film holder, and you do that by simply sliding the lock slides down towards the bottom of the unit and then gently lifting off the back panel of the film holder. Now you're going to want to make sure that your take-up reel is on the side of the holder that has the big knob. That's the right hand side of the unit. Once you're ready to load the film, take your film, pull down on this knob, which allows the pin to slide back up into the film holder, and attach the reel to the film holder. Then you're going to take your lead from the film and slide that across, and slide the film lead into the slot of the take-up reel. And then you're going to turn counterclockwise and allow the reel to catch, and you keep turning until that start line lines up with the edge of where the take-up reel is located. Once you have that all set, take your film back again from the holder and very carefully push that back down onto the film holder, making sure that you've got a tight seal all the way around, and then you can go ahead and lock your sliding mechanisms. Now, since I'm going to be shooting 6x17, I'm going to want to pay attention to this little window right here. You just simply push that slidey button up, and you're going to look for the number 2. When number 2 appears in this window, that tells you that you're ready for the first frame. Remember, if you're shooting a 6x17 format, that means you're going to get 4 exposures
out of this roll. So number 2 represents the middle of the film, while 1 and 3 are the lateral sides of the middle of the film. So we're going to rotate this until we see the number 2 in the window, and you'll see a series of dots warning you that the number is coming up. So there's number 1, so we're going to keep going until we get to number 2. So there's number 2. I'm going to stop right there, close my window, and my film is ready to go.
Once you've taken your first image, push the dark slide back into place and rotate the take-up spool knob counterclockwise to advance the film to frame number 5 in the 6x17 window. As you complete shooting subsequent images, repeat this process and advance the frame number to 8 and 11 for the 3rd and 4th panoramic shots respectively.
So to unload your film, what you're going to do is simply rotate the spool wheel counterclockwise until you feel the tension loosen up and the paper goes past the window. Okay, so you can also hear it rustling around in the take-up reel. So once you're done with that, all you have to do is then unlock the back door sliding mechanisms and remove this back panel and put your thumb on the roll so it doesn't go flying out, and pull on the knob to release the pin from the spool. And then you just simply take this wrap to seal the roll so it doesn't come unraveled, and you've got your roll of film ready for developing.
Once your film is developed, it should look something like this.
If you enjoy the panoramic format and want to see the results that I've been able to achieve using this 6x17 roll film holder, please check out my other video that includes a portfolio of my favorite images in the 6x17 format. As always, thanks again for watching.